In the bustling city of Enugu, Mr. Chijioke and Mrs. Edeora were the epitome of a power couple. Chijioke was a charismatic businessman, known for his shrewd deals and strategic mind, while Edeora, a meticulous planner and a visionary, was the backbone of their thriving company, A&D Enterprises. They had built the company from scratch, combining their skills and expertise to create a legacy that spanned nearly 2 decades. Edeora, however, was not just a co-owner, she was the majority shareholder. She had poured her inheritance into the business, a decision she had made out of love and trust. Over time, Edeora's sharp mind earned her opportunities to pursue higher education. She earned a PhD in business administration and even started a smaller consultancy firm on the side, but her loyalty to A&D Enterprises remained unwavering. While Edeora's life appeared balanced, Chijioke was fighting a battle she didn't know existed. He had always longed for a son, something Edeora had not given him. With 4 daughters, Chijioke began to feel the weight of societal expectations, particularly from extended family members who constantly whispered in his ear about the importance of having a male heir. But unknown to Edeora, Chijioke had married another woman in a quiet ceremony in Nui, a small town far from their home. His second wife, Nkem, had given him 2 sons, who he secretly supported using funds siphoned from A&D Enterprises. It was Oma, Edeora, and Chijioke's eldest daughter, who stumbled upon the truth. A brilliant accountant, she had been reviewing some financial documents when she noticed recurring payments labeled as education and upkeep directed to unfamiliar names. The names carried the Isa surname, but they weren't hers or her sister's. Curious, Oma began investigating. Her research led her to one of the recipients, a boy named Obinna, who was studying at a prestigious private university in Lagos. Armed with this information, she confided in her siblings, and together, they decided to confront the situation. The siblings traveled to Lagos, determined to meet Obinna. At the university, they tracked him down, and their suspicions were confirmed. Obinna, shocked by their appearance, admitted that he knew about them. He revealed that his mother had always told him about his big sisters, but instructed him never to contact them. As they stood in disbelief, Obinna called his mother, who immediately informed Chijioke. That evening, Chijioke stormed into their family home in Enugu, enraged. His fury was directed primarily at Oma for unearthing the secret. "You have no right to meddle in my affairs," he yelled, his voice echoing through the house. Oma stood her ground. "You've been stealing from the company to fund a family we didn't even know existed. We have every right to know." Oma's discovery shattered Edeora's world. When she confronted Chijioke, he gave her a cold, unapologetic response: "I needed sons to carry on my legacy. You couldn't give me that." The words cut deep, but Edeora wasn't one to cower. She immediately called a family meeting, involving their daughters and a few trusted confidants. "If he thinks he can steal what I built for my daughters and hand it over to his sons, he has another thing coming," Edeora declared. Determined to protect her legacy, Edeora began liquidating her shares in A&D Enterprises, selling them to her daughters. She also hired a lawyer to initiate the process of dissolving the company. Her plan was clear: if Chijioke wanted to betray her, she would ensure he had nothing left to give to his hidden family. As Edeora moved swiftly, Chijioke fought back. He sought the support of influential family members, who tried to pressure Edeora into forgiveness. "My dear, please, think of the children. The company is their future," his elder brother pleaded. Edeora was unmoved. "The company's future? Which children? The ones I raised and trained to work hard, or the ones he hid from me while stealing to enrich them?" Meanwhile, Edeora's lawyer obtained a court order to temporarily freeze the company's accounts. This sent shockwaves through the business world, as A&D Enterprises ground to a halt. Chijioke's reputation took a hit, and he found himself scrambling to keep his secrets contained. With tensions at an all-time high, the family faced public scrutiny. The story of the hidden family and the company's internal battles became the talk of Enugu. Chijioke's attempts to reconcile with Edeora fell flat, as she remained resolute in her decision to dissolve their partnership, both in business and marriage. Oma, who had become the de facto leader of her siblings, continued to fight for justice. "We will not allow him to rob us of our inheritance," she told her sisters. Together, they worked to ensure that their mother's contributions to the company were recognized. As court proceedings began, shocking revelations emerged. Chijioke had not only used company funds to support his hidden family but had also been diverting profits to offshore accounts. These discoveries strengthened Adora's case, and the court ordered the liquidation of A&D Enterprises. The proceeds were to be split equally between Edora and Chijioke, with their daughters receiving a significant share. The dissolution of A&D Enterprises marked the end of an era, but it also signaled a fresh start for Edora and her daughters. Edora used her share of the proceeds to expand her consultancy firm, while her daughters ventured into new business opportunities. As for Chijioke, he found himself isolated. His hidden family's existence had caused irreparable damage to his relationships, and his reputation in the business world was in tatters. The Is family was now a fractured shell of what it once was. Edora had moved into a new house she purchased after selling her shares of A&D Enterprises, while her daughters each received their own portions of the settlement. Though financially stable, the emotional scars were not so easily healed. Chijioke, on the other hand, was living with his second wife, Nkem, in a house that now seemed smaller and quieter. His sons, Obinna and Chukwuma, resented the fact that their once comfortable lifestyle had been upended. The lavish school fees and allowances that had once been covered by A&D Enterprises were no longer forthcoming. Chijioke tried to bridge the gap with his daughters, but they kept their distance. "How can we trust a man who betrayed our mother and us?" Oma asked her sisters one evening as they gathered in Adora's new home. Adora's consultancy firm, aptly named Edemoka Business Ventures, Edenos Business Ventures, grew rapidly after the fall of A&D Enterprises. Her story of resilience resonated with women's groups and business associations across the Southeast. Invitations poured in for her to speak at events, sharing lessons on how she overcame betrayal to rebuild her empire. One evening, after a particularly successful seminar, Edora sat with her daughters in their living room. She looked at them with pride. "Never let anyone tell you that you are less because you are women," she said. "If your father thought sons were the only ones who could lead, he was wrong. You are my legacy." Oma, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "Mom, you've shown us what it means to fight for what's right. I'll make sure our family's name stands tall again." While Edora was thriving, Chijioke was floundering. Without Adora's strategic mind and Oma's sharp accounting skills, his other business ventures faltered. Nkem, who had once been a silent support system, began to complain about their dwindling finances. "Obinna needs money for his final year project," she said one afternoon. "And what about Chukwuma's WAC fees? You need to do something." Chijioke's frustration boiled over. "Do you think money grows on trees? The company is gone, and Edora has taken everything," he shouted. "You brought this on yourself," Nkem retorted. "You should have been honest from the beginning." The argument escalated, leaving Chijioke feeling more isolated than ever. His pride prevented him from seeking help, and his reputation in the community had been irreparably damaged. One afternoon, Oma received a call from a lawyer representing one of their father's former business partners. "There's something you need to see," the lawyer said. Reluctantly, Oma agreed to meet. The lawyer presented documents showing that Chijioke had secretly transferred ownership of a prime piece of land in Awka to his sons. This land, originally purchased with A&D Enterprises funds, was worth millions. Furious, Oma gathered her sisters and their mother. "Mom, he's still trying to cheat us. We have to act fast." Adora's face hardened. "If he thinks he can still steal from us, he hasn't learned his lesson. I'll see him in court again." The discovery reignited the battle, with Edora filing a lawsuit to reclaim the land. The case drew public attention, with many siding with Edora. "Why should daughters be denied their inheritance simply because they are women?" a popular radio host said during a discussion on the case. Months later, the court ruled in Adora's favor. The land was to be sold, and the proceeds divided equally among Edora and her daughters. Chijioke's sons were left with nothing, as the court deemed the transfer fraudulent. The judgment was a bitter pill for Chijioke to swallow. He had not only lost his company but also his most valuable assets. The community, once in awe of his success, now viewed him with disdain. With the legal battles behind them, Edeora and her daughters focused on rebuilding their lives. Oma started her own financial consultancy firm, while her sisters pursued their passions. Edeora, now a symbol of strength and resilience, continued to inspire women across Nigeria. At a women's conference in Abuja, she delivered a powerful speech: "As women, we must take charge of our destinies. We are not just wives or daughters, we are leaders, builders, and trailblazers." Chijioke, meanwhile, was a shadow of his former self. Though he still had his sons, his relationship with them was strained. They blamed him for the loss of their inheritance, and Kem's once unwavering support had turned into quiet resentment. Years later, Adeora's name became synonymous with resilience in the face of betrayal. Her daughters carried on her legacy, proving that strength and intelligence were not bound by gender. In the heart of Enugu, a new business complex bore her name, Edeora East Business Hub. It stood as a testament to her courage and a reminder to all who passed by that no obstacle was too great to overcome. As Edeora watched her grandchildren play in her garden one sunny afternoon, she smiled. Let them write their own stories, she thought. But let them never forget the lessons of ours. The scandal surrounding the East family had rippled through the entire town. Market women whispered about Chijioke's betrayal, elders debated whether Edeora had gone too far, and young women hailed her as a feminist hero. Even the town crier, known for his colorful commentary, couldn't resist chiming in. "This is what happens when greed enters the heart of a man," he announced one market day. Edeora is a lioness who refuses to be caged. The public division was stark. Men in the community, especially those with similar secrets, rallied behind Chijioke, fearing Adeora's boldness would inspire their wives to rebel. Meanwhile, women's groups across the southeast celebrated Edeora as a trailblazer. Chijioke's pride suffered a crushing blow as he found himself alienated even among his peers. The once respected CEO of A&D Enterprises was now a cautionary tale. The revelations also strained relationships among Adeora's daughters. While Oma led the charge for justice, her younger sisters began to feel the weight of the ongoing battle. "Oma, do you ever think about how all this is affecting us emotionally?" Amoka asked one evening. "I'm tired of courtrooms and lawyers. I just want peace." Oma frowned. "Peace? After everything he's done?" "Amoka, this isn't just about us. This is about ensuring that Momo's sacrifices weren't in vain." Chioma, the youngest, chimed in. "I understand both sides, but I just wish things didn't have to be so messy. Can't we find a way to end this without tearing the family apart?" Their disagreements grew, with Amoka often accusing Oma of being too aggressive, while Oma saw Amoka as too passive. Edeora watched the tension between her daughters with concern. "Don't let his betrayal destroy the bond between you," she advised them. "We are stronger together." While Edeora and her daughters fought for justice, Chijioke's sons were grappling with their own issues. Obinna, once the golden boy at Lagos State University, found himself struggling to adjust to a life without financial security. "How am I supposed to complete my thesis without money for research?" he complained to his mother, Nkem. "You'll have to find a way," she replied curtly. Nkem's patience was wearing thin. She had sacrificed her reputation to support Chijioke, only to end up in this predicament. Chokuma, now in his final year of secondary school, began to resent his father as well. "Why didn't you just tell the truth from the beginning?" he asked one evening. Chijioke snapped. "You don't understand the pressures I was under. I wanted to give you boys the life I never had. But at what cost?" Chokuma retorted, storming out of the room. The day of the company's final auction arrived. A&D Enterprises, once a symbol of unity and success, was now a broken empire. The auction attracted businessmen from all over the southeast, each eager to buy a piece of the company's assets. Edeora and her daughters stood together, watching as the company they had poured their lives into was dismantled. Chijioke arrived late, avoiding eye contact with his estranged family. When the auctioneer announced the sale of the company's flagship building, Eudora felt a pang of sadness. This is the end of an era, she thought. But Omar, ever the pragmatist, saw it differently. It's not the end, Mom. It's a new beginning for us. Just when the dust seemed to be settling, another bombshell dropped. A former employee of A&D Enterprises approached Omar with confidential documents. I couldn't keep quiet any longer, the employee said. The documents revealed that Chijioke had been siphoning company funds for years, not just for his second family but also for other personal building projects. The discovery reignited Adora's anger and determination. This man has no limits, she said. He will answer for every kobo he's stolen. The revelation sparked yet another court battle, with Eudora and her daughters demanding restitution for the stolen funds. The case drew even more public attention, with media outlets dubbing it the Isa saga. As the legal battles dragged on, Chijioke's desperation grew. He tried to reach out to Eudora privately, hoping to negotiate a settlement. Eudora, we've been through so much together, he pleaded during a late-night phone call. Let's end this war before it destroys us both. Adora's voice was cold. You destroyed us the moment you betrayed our family. Now you'll face the consequences. Chijioke slammed the phone down in frustration. His health began to deteriorate under the stress, but his pride wouldn't let him admit defeat. Amidst the chaos, Eudora decided to write a memoir detailing her journey. The book, titled From Betrayal to Triumph, became an instant bestseller. Women across Nigeria and beyond were inspired by her resilience and strength. In one of the book's most powerful chapters, Eudora wrote, "Betrayal is a wound that cuts deep, but it is also a fire that forges strength. To every woman reading this, know that you are not defined by the actions of others. You have the power to rise above any storm." The book's success solidified Adora's status as a cultural icon, and her daughters couldn't have been prouder. Years later, the dust finally settled. Chijioke, now a shadow of his former self, reached out to his daughters. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said during a family meeting. "But I want to make amends." Omar, even the strong-willed one, was skeptical. "Why should we trust you now, after everything you've done?" But Eudora, now older and wiser, intervened. "Forgiveness is not for him, it's for us. Let's find peace and move forward." Reluctantly, the daughters agreed to let their father back into their lives, though they kept him at arm's length. The Is family story became a cautionary tale and an inspiration. Adora's legacy lived on through her daughters, who carried her values into their own businesses and families. As she sat on her veranda one evening, watching the sunset, Eudora reflected on her journey. "I fought for what was right, and I built a legacy that will stand the test of time," she thought. "That is all I ever wanted." The family home, once a battleground, became a place of reconciliation and hope. And though the scars of betrayal would never fully heal, the Is family learned to rise above their pain, proving that even in the darkest times, there is light. Did you learn anything from this story? Share with us in the comment section. Like, share and subscribe for more intriguing stories.